Sit back and throw one back with your pinky in the air and a middle finger to the world and join me, the eclectic gentleman Stephen Watts, as we look back on this day in pro wrestling history. But before we do, put that drink down, like, share, and subscribe, and without further ado, let's get our wrestling history on. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, it is June 16th, and we're going to start off as we always do on a positive note. That's right, these are your pro wrestling birthdays. 1942, Mid-Atlantic legend Paul Jones. 1945, one of the fabulous Freebirds, Buddy Roberts. 1958, Big Ted Arcadia. 1959, The Ultimate Warrior. 1963, hide your beer, hide your kendo sticks, it's the Sandman. And last but not least, 1994, one half of the Authors of Pain, Razor. And we're gonna keep that positivity train a-rolling. That's right, these are your pro wrestling history highlights for June 16th. Jumping in the Wayback Machine and going all the way to 1937. Bronco Nagurski defeats Dean Denton in Minneapolis, Minnesota to become the World Heavyweight Champion as recognized by the Ring magazine. Hitting super fast forward and going 22 years into the future, 1959, the Zebra Kid defeats the Golden Giant for the NWA Texas Brass Knuckles title in Dallas, Texas. Grooving into the 60s, 1961, Pepper Gomez and Dory Dixon defeat Duke Kamuka and Tony Martin to win the vacant Texas version of the NWA World Tag Team titles in Houston, Texas. The title had been held up a week earlier after a match between the two teams. This began Gomez's and Dixon's second reign. Making two stops in 1967, first Ron Etcherson and Sonny Myers defeat Bob Geigel and Bob Brown for the Central States version of the NWA North American Tag Team titles in St. Joseph, Missouri, ending Geigel and Brown's second reign. Our second stop in 1967 sees El Mongol defeat Buddy Fuller in Atlanta, Georgia to win the NWA Georgia Heavyweight title. Our last stop in the 60s, 1969, Tojo Yamamoto and Johnny Long defeat Johnny Walker and the Sundown Kid for the Mid-American version of the NWA Southern Tag Team titles in Memphis, Tennessee. Grabbing my bell bottoms and going to 1970, where we see Hiro Matsuda defeat Dale Lewis to begin his second reign as NWA Florida Southern Heavyweight Champion. Making two stops in 1975, first Guy Mitchell and Ricky Hunter defeat Gene Knitsky and Dale Lewis for the Vancouver version of the NWA Canadian Tag Team titles. Our second stop in 1975 sees Carl von Steiger and Otto von Heller defeat Tojo Yamamoto and Jimmy Golden to win the NWA Mid-American version of the Southern Tag Team titles. Grabbing my boombox and going to 1980, the Assassins defeat Ole and Lars Anderson for the NWA Georgia Tag Team titles in Augusta, Georgia, ending Ole and Lars' second reign, which lasted only 8 days. Two stops in 1984. First, Masa Ito defeats Austin Idol in Memphis, Tennessee to win the AWA International Heavyweight title. Second stop in 84 sees Terry Taylor defeat Crusher Khrushchev for the Mid-South Wrestling television title in New Orleans, Louisiana. Making two more stops, but this time in 1986. First, Dutch Mantell defeats Rip Rogers to win the NWA Mid-American Heavyweight title in Memphis, Tennessee, beginning his 14th reign. Second stop in 86 sees Buzz Sawyer defeat Chris Adams for the World Class television title in Fort Worth, Texas. Grabbing my flannel and going to the decade of grunge, 1992. WCW holds the 19th Clash of the Champions in South Carolina. The main event sees Steve Williams and Terry Gordy defeat Rick and Scott Steiner. Moving just 1 year into the future to 1993, we get the 23rd Clash of the Champions with the main event being Arn Anderson and Ric Flair defeating Brian Pillman and Steve Austin in a 2 out of 3 falls match. Sticking in 1993, Money Inc., Ted DiBiase and Erwin R. Shyster, who had just lost the titles 2 days earlier in Columbus, Ohio, defeat the Steiner brothers, Rick and Scott Steiner, in Rockford, Illinois, for the WWF Tag Team titles, beginning their third reign. And last but not least, 1996, WCW holds the 10th annual Great American Bash in Baltimore, Maryland. In the main event, the Giant defeated Lex Luger with a chokeslam to retain the WCW Heavyweight title. Those were your short but sweet pro wrestling history highlights for June 16th. I'm the Eclectic Gentleman, Stephen Watts, and we'll see you tomorrow.